Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is a mini series where I talk about philosophy and law and also do a get ready with me. So to get right into it, I will be doing this episode on Thomas Hobbes and in particular his book Leviathan and how his book kind of justified the taking away of land from indigenous peoples. I'll also speak to how his conception of equality leaves out intersectionality and how that could be a way in which people are not equal. First, I want to begin with talking about Thomas Hobbes as like a person. He was kind of an interesting guy. I learned a lot about him this year in class. So first off, he was born in like a really chaotic time. In one of the books that I read, Thomas Hobbes Leviathan by Marshall Misner. This was a really good book. Talked about how when his mom was like pregnant with him, she literally went into labor early because she thought the Spanish Armada was on the way. So that would have been pretty frightening as a pregnant woman. But I think it's hearsay. Like they don't really explicitly say like that's true. I think that's what Thomas Hobbes claimed. So yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. And also he was like super interesting. So Frank he like left university and he is kind of like had his things to say about university. Like he didn't really enjoy the experience. So anyways, he left and he ended up becoming tutor to the sons of Francis Bacon, who really like influenced him, and like they were like best buds. He would like go all over the country with him and his sons, and yeah, there's also like fights going around about like the monarchy and whether there should be the monarchy, or because there's like mercantilism, and mercantilism was like there was a lot of merchants that they wanted a piece of pie too. They were making money. They wanted to be like accepted and all that, and they wanted their own rule, and they didn't want to like listen to the stuffy monarchs anymore, and they believed that they should have the property and things like that. But that's more John Locke. But Thomas Hobbes, he was like, no guys, we need somebody to be the head and someone that's like the undisputed ruler. And yeah, so that's basically when he comes in and he writes Leviathan, and it's such a good book. He wrote this and he made it so that it would like entice the everyday man to want to join, like, and to give up your rights so that you could get security. This guy, that would be like the king. But all these little guys, they're like the little people that make up the body of Leviathan, because they give up their rights so that the Leviathan, the absolute monarch, provides them with security. As long as you're living like a good life and everybody's in agreement, then that guy, he could do no wrong. He could take away people's property. He could do whatever he wants as long as he's providing like security for the whole nation. He is doing his job. And there's a lot of people that disagreed with that later on. But from his point of view, like, Thomas Hobbes was living a crazy life. He basically was in the streets and he watched Charles I get his head lopped off. and he was like at an impressionable age. He grew up like a timid kind of guy, I guess. Well, some people said he was timid, others said that like he would defend his point. Everyone was like calling him a heretic at this time, like an atheist, and he didn't want to get in trouble for that, so he probably was like, okay, like he's not like, he's of the earth, he wields with the church, like, but he is like the god of earth. Like, he's not any more than God, but he is like God's voice on earth. That's what really stuck out to me. So anyways, my makeup look is gonna be this guy. I'm gonna draw a Leviathan on my face. Wish me luck. He was like older. He also he was like 40, and he like stumbled across this book of geometry, and he was like, oh my god, like math. Like everybody was obsessed with math back then, and so he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna like try to come up with something that is like math but politics, like politics math, like something that's universal and it's right, like you could deduce terms and it comes out to this. And he was like, yeah, like that's how I'm gonna prove it to everybody. So like throughout all of Leviathan, he's like, this is this and that is that because this is this and that is that. Really like bears down on his terms, you know what I mean? So when he's talking about the state of nature, it gets like really interesting. He really goes in. When he talks about the state of nature, he's like, okay, well, we have to like go back to this beginning of man, and he uses indigenous people to speak about uncivilized people, and there's been lots of people that have critiqued him. It was even Jean-Jacques Rousseau who said, like, by his definition of savages is equal to the definition of civilized, because civilized people are greedy and everything else too. So yeah, he basically just says like, in this state of nature, everyone lives life very nasty, brutish, and short. He says that everybody's just like out to get everybody. It's an amoral universe. It's like the movie Purge. Like that's that's Hobbes' state of nature. Like believes the worst in people. He's just like, everybody, if you give them a chance, they will kill you. Like, he says everyone is equal because everyone, even the strongest or weakest person, kill the strongest because they could either poison you or they can get people together to kill you. That's like his idea of equality. He's like, everyone in the state of nature could kill you and be killed, so it's just an all-out state of war where everyone is against each other and everyone wants to attack each other first because they're scared of being attacked. They'll always just attack each other. I agree with the book Death of Nature. It's such a good book. It's by Carolyn Merchant. It's really great. She like critiques Hobbes, and she says, if state of nature was like so horrible, then like we would have ceased to exist as humans. We didn't have a natural like tendency to actually cooperation. Then we would all be dead. We would not be here. His like state of nature is kind of, well, it's not my cup of tea. I am the belief that humanity has survived this long because we work together. We're not like murderous. I'm sure there is people like that, and like given like under threat and stuff like that, like people could do crazy things, but I just don't believe in that per se. Thomas Hobbes is just like a wild guy. Like, I get why he would think like that, the whole like he would believe in his state of nature, because like he's never experienced like a time of like kind of like peace. I feel like in this time he would think that we are under like a security issue, because he said that you're in a state of war even if there's like peace, almost not peace, but like how there's like war in Ukraine and stuff, like how we have like nuclear bombs that are like could go off at any moment. Like we're not really in a state of security. Like it seems like we are, but we're not really. Like it's a little bit scary out here, sis. Like honestly, I think even the States like pushing Russia into, or not Russia, pushing Ukraine into wanting to like join NATO, and like, you know, that creates a springboard for the States into Russia. And of course, Russia's not going to be happy about that. They don't want to be with us. Like, they want their own thing. Like, God, States, let them have their own thing. Like, you know, I don't claim that I'm like really smart and like know a lot of things or whatever, but I just feel like, yeah, like we need to stop fucking poking the bear, like let people be. And like stop like instigating these like wars. Like even, what was another good one? Oh, El Salvador, like that war in El Salvador. Like we did not need to be like giving them ammunition and stuff so they could go kill civilians. If the government isn't doing their job by like creating security for you and your family, can you join like military groups and stuff like against your wishes? Like the people should be able to rise up. So I don't know if you know this, but Thomas Hobbes has a lot to do with the Canadian Constitution. They like wrote even a lot of his like terminology into it. Peace, order, and good government. You might have heard of the POG clause. He inspired that. Like it's almost like the United States loves John Locke and we love Hobbes. He's got like a no neck. See, he doesn't even have really a neck. It's just like head. He really believes that everyone has their own right to like follow whatever religion they want, but keep it to yourself. Believe whatever you want to believe, but like that's you, bro. All you. You can't dictate anyone else. And like he says, like religion is like the number one cause of all the wars and stuff, and he believes that, and that was because of the wars that were happening. There was just kings getting beheaded. There's just like so much fighting going on, and like Hobbes just truly believed that like everybody just needs to listen to the monarch. He will provide if we just believe in him. To like awe everybody. He needed to just be like superhuman cool guy. Everybody to agree, like, I don't want to be in this state of nature anymore. It sucks here. Everybody wants to kill me all the time, and I never have like any sort of. That's his sword. Because my mouth is covered. I think it needs to be longer. Yeah. Everybody is like, it sucks here. Everybody wants to kill me. Everyone has to like get together and become like a covenant, basically. Everybody like get together and make this pact, and we'll get a guy and we'll agree on who it is, and the guy will agree to be in it. But Hobbes does like some fancy footwork, and he makes it so like the people give this guy all the authority to do like anything he wants, basically. Nice to security, but like that's his only obligation to the people. He could literally like kill anybody, do anything, steal, whatever. As long as he keeps like the people in the country safe, then he good. He could do whatever he wants. which I think is kind of crazy, to be honest. I don't think anybody should have a seriously unchecked power all the time. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. They're the peeps. There's 300 people in his body. I was like, is that all it takes to make the covenant? Is 300 people? I was like, should I count them all? Leviathan, I think, comes from like a biblical story of like a monster, and he was like trying to think about like a monster. Like he was like thinking about like would the king be like a lion? But I feel like he wanted to like find like a mythical creature that like would define it. Yeah, I guess he just came up with Leviathan. Kinda cool. These are like the people's eyes, okay guys? Slay, queen. Slay! Okay, I'm gonna do like some type of eye look, I think. I tried to like find out if Thomas Hobbes like ever had a lady friend, ever like got married or had kids or anything like that. And in one of the books it said Thomas Hobbes did not hate women. I was like, oh, okay. Say anything like he ever had like any romance stories or anything like that. And I always wonder that because like they travel around with men, they only talk to men. Like he was a tutor, so he couldn't even afford a wife, probably, if he wanted. So yeah, that really, because like even John Locke, like I feel like, I don't know, like John Locke kind of throws me like the gay vibes, just because he had like, his patron was his best friend. They literally traveled together all over the place, and like as soon as his patron died, he like died like not long after. And I was like, that's a love story, that's so cute. Yeah, so anyways, that's what I sort of think. Those are assumptions, those aren't facts. Just making stuff up. But I did think that was pretty interesting. Like, it's just interesting to think about. There's even an interesting case where the Gitsan Wet'suwet'en Nation, they took their case to federal court, and they were trying to sense why the government is like taking all their land and stuff and compensating them for it. And they got like their own anthropologists and stuff to do study, use empirical evidence to show them that this is their land, they've been using it for like thousands of years, and like this is their territory, and it's not like just barren unused land. Them all this empirical evidence, and the judge still ruled their rights are at the leisure of like the queen, and that their rights are just subject to whatever they say they are, because they're the like dominating culture, like their Eurocentric mind and like implicit bias made it so that they were trying to justify like the taking of their land because whatever rights that they have, they were given to them by the queen. And that is just right out wrong. He even used the same language as in Leviathan, which I thought was like really interesting. Like they were using the Leviathan against indigenous peoples to like justify like the way that they were ruling. And that just like goes to show like his implicit bias against First Nations people. I was just like thinking about equality, like what I said before. He just basically thought like you're equal because you're able to kill each other, and that's final. And people are like, hold up a second, I think it's a little bit deeper than that. People who suffer from racism, or people that like suffer from like a mixture of like all three, like they could be suffering from like ableism, ageism, from racism, from sexism. Everybody isn't born equal, no matter if you could like kill somebody. Like there's still like people that could be like easily misled or things like that. So just also points out to like Thomas Hobbes' own implicit bias when like talking about people. Like he doesn't really like think about, like, as much as people are like, oh, like he talks about equality, like he doesn't really like talk about specific equalities of people. He just like really kind of puts like a blanket approach, even though like he does try to like go deep into the meanings of what he's talking about. He really misses the mark on that, I think. But some things that I think are like really interesting, like that Thomas Hobbes brings up, but there's also like some stuff that I think he's like way off base with. All right. Well, this is the finished look. Hope that you enjoyed my video and you enjoyed my makeup look. I had lots of fun talking about Thomas Hobbes with you, and stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to be talking more about intersectionality, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Sojourner Truth. Ooh! Bye guys. Thank you. Mwah.